Good morning, guys. Good evening or good afternoon, whatever it is for you. Welcome to my channel. We're going to start with some trail cam from the Carlton Reserve. Julie, hey darling, I have to attend my gazebo. My gazebo has just been shedded by wind, so I will catch you later. Thanks, Julie. Thanks for popping in. Make sure you leave a like. So we have some trail cam here from the Carlton Reserve, which I think is going to be quite interesting. So I welcome you all in while we have a watch of this. I'm going to put the link in the description box below and in the chat for this channel. So please go along and give them a like and subscribe to the channel. Show some love. It's good to support other YouTubers. I found this really, really interesting to get an idea of the wildlife in the reserve, because people have talked about the wildlife in the reserve, but until now, I'd never actually seen it. So I'm really, really interested. Please hit that like button if you're coming in, guys. Even if you leave, that would be fantastic. If you're new around here, my name is TJ. I usually do and release videos of unsolved cases in New Zealand and around the world, but I've just started live streaming on YouTube with case updates. And we've got a lot to get through today. I have a headache, but I'm going to try and get through as much as we can. But I really wanted to show some trail cam first because some of it's very interesting, that's for sure. Hey, Pam. Great to have you on, hon. Welcome. So I'm not even sure if that's a deer. Is that a deer? Is it like a gazelle? Does somebody know what this thing is? Hey, Tara. Good to see you, hon. We're just watching some trail cam from the Carlton Reserve. Want to get a feel of what the wildlife is actually like in there. Hey, Jay. Welcome. Jay, did you sign up to be a member? If you do, thank you so much. I have put out like a join button, but I can't really do a lot. I'm just going to do little pictures. So yes, if you have some ideas about what I could do, let me know. Tara says deer, it's a doe, a female deer. Annie, hey hun, good to see you. Mark Longoria says hello, TJ. Yes, that's a female deer. Thank you. Thank you, Jay. You're my first ever member. I'm so excited. And like I say, let me know of ideas for like little pictures that you want and I'll try and get them. Oh, look at that. Did you see those little piglets? That was so gorgeous. Like I say, please go over and give this guy a sub and a like on this video. He deserves it. Yeah, I've seen that cat too, Pam. I'm not sure what the cat is either. I'm not a wildlife expert. I do not know what all these animals are, but they look dangerous. Please hit that like button, guys, if you're popping in to have a look at this. I really appreciate it. So I've heard a lot about, so this is a male bobcat and a wild boar. I've heard some bad things about the boars and what they can eat. Why don't they eat them? I thought of like a wild boar would eat a deer, but no. Oh, he's an angry looking fella. He's big and ugly, isn't he? Would not like to meet him in the middle of the night, that's for sure. I don't know what that is. Tara says, too small. They will rip a human apart alive. The wild boars, you mean, Tara? I've heard that. I've heard that they just eat everything. They are real nasty. Pam, you were thinking that too? I'm sorry, but whatever that is, it was funny. Shaking his booty. So what is that, guys? Was that a fox or something like that, or coyote? So this guy must have spent a lot of time going through the trail cams and putting this stuff together. Tara says that is a wolf. Wow. Definitely a lot of movement. Pam says my fibro raising hell today. Rough high pain levels. I'm so sorry, Pam. Sending you all my love, hun. Coyote hears the hogs approaching and then the smell of the intruder. I missed it all, but curious. Hey, hun. Welcome. We're looking at some trail cam from Carlton Reserve to see what animals and predators actually go through. It's quite interesting. So good to see you guys. It's been a couple of days since I've gone live to do some updates, and we have so many today. I'm just hoping that with my damn headache that I can get through them all, because there's a lot of stuff. Okay, I'm going to pause this one because this one is much the same. It just shows the boars and that wolf and the little piglets, which is pretty cool. And I want to take a look at this one because this one scares the bejesus out of me. And again, I'm going to show you a YouTube channel. If you can go and like them and subscribe to them, that would be really cool as well. Okay, this one's just loading. Remember, I've got a shit computer, so it does take a moment. That is a huge boar. Huge. Check that out, guys. That is scary. Very, very scary. We don't know who Brian met, if Brian met some of these guys. Hi, Insightful. Welcome. One thing I don't see in this footage is water, which is interesting. Maybe it's from a particular time of year or something like that. Or particular time of year, or I don't know, but yeah, that was really, really interesting. So Tari said it was a raccoon and an otter. I'm actually, yeah, and there's dogs and coyotes, and we saw that alligator, which I think was the most scariest shit that I've ever seen. When I'm finished, I'm going to put the links to in the description box below of where you can go back to those. Yeah, was that a black bear, Pam? Tara says you can see water. I didn't see much water. Curious says, I guess snakes would be hard to see on cam. Yeah, I guess so. Right. So since we're on the Gabby Petito / Brian Laundrie case, we'll stay there at the moment. And we're going to go to News Nation and have a look at a couple of things that Brian Enton has been working on. He's been in, I think he went to Moab and Wyoming, and he's been sort of going through the footsteps of Gabby and Brian and what their last footsteps were and all, you know, that sort of shit. So, yeah, I'm going to play that and let's have a look at that, guys. Again, this is News Nation. And this is what happened to Gabby and Brian at the Mary Piglet's restaurant, which a lot of people have been wondering about. So I wanted to get some info directly from Brian and see what happened. Come on, lady, I can't hear her.
Lives of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie may be the most important day. It's quite possible.
Can you hear that, guys?
Gabby died. It's apparently the day she was last seen alive in public, and it was memorable. According to witnesses and restaurant staff, Gabby and Brian had lunch at the Mary Piglet's restaurant in Jackson, Wyoming. It happened in the afternoon, but it was certainly not a happy occasion. So, Brian Enton, this is important. You visited the Mary Piglet's restaurant just in the last 2 days. And I want you to, if you can, characterize for me the conversation that you had with the manager of that restaurant.
So this was just last night, Ashley. This was right before they closed. I mean, we were on your show last night. We were driving like all the way from Moab to here and stopped in Salt Lake. So we were like trying to get here right before they closed. We got there right before they closed. The manager and the staff were all inside sort of together, like kind of talking right before closing. And I went inside and I spoke with the manager, immediately told her who I was. And she immediately said, like, what you've heard about what happened here is not what really happened. She didn't want to go on camera, but take a look. She says everything that's been on the news about what happened here is made up. She says there was no loud voices, no one got angry, no one threw a fit here. She says that Gabby and Brian did leave the restaurant without paying, and she says that the server followed them outside, that they paid the bill out here on the street, and that Brian was very calm. But then that they came back into the restaurant together, and that Gabby said that she wanted her money back, and the restaurant said that we're not going to give you your money back, and that then Gabby and Brian left. Yeah, so I had Luis, my photographer, shoot that because I wanted to like get it out right away because I had just heard her explain all of this. But it was interesting because it was so different than the other witness account. And I told the manager that, and she's like, yeah, it's not true. That's not what happened. She goes, it was all a very somewhat calm situation in her words.
I feel for you, Annie. I really do.
And this is where I'm so glad that, early in my professional career, I was a waitress and a bartender and a bouncer.
Just answering a question or commenting, and why I'm playing this is because there were rumors going around about how Brian was yelling at the people in this restaurant. He was going off, going crazy, and apparently Gabby had to go in and say sorry and apologize for him. And that was widely speculated, and this seems to say otherwise.
6 years of it, so I know intimately the functioning of a restaurant, and I also know that oftentimes the manager's not there for everything. So I am and I also love covering trials where many witnesses bring their story to the stand and give a fulsome picture of what happened, and one witness's account isn't always the same, and sometimes they're contiguous. So I'm very curious as to whether that Instagrammer Nina Seeley saw something that the manager didn't see, because if the manager only thinks that was a walkout on a check, there may very well have been something quite aggressive happening next to Nina's table, as she seems very certain of what she witnessed. So I'm not prepared to sort of discount the Instagrammer. I think that there could be many different versions of what it looked like to them, but certainly the same version that comes from everybody is that Gabby was upset, that's for sure. Okay, just quickly, I want to take you back for a minute to the Salt Lake City Hotel. I know I'm circling back, but I think it's an important moment because there is video of Gabby leaving that hotel, and it's important to know all the places where she was seen on video. But characterize for me why that's important.
It's important because that is where Brian left Gabby when he returned home to Florida to apparently clean out this storage unit. And so that was another one of the stops that we made, hoping to get some information because, that's kind of one of the mysteries. What was Gabby doing during that time? What was happening? And again, it was just sort of immediate shutdown. The manager and the clerk knew why we were there, said that they couldn't talk. There was a restaurant attached that we sort of thought, well, perhaps Gabby ate there because she was at this hotel alone for so long. So we also went to the restaurant, and I think the manager called ahead and kind of warned them that we were coming. And so they also just immediately shut us down. So we didn't really gain any insight into, we know Gabby was there, but we don't know much more than that still.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of News Nation's.
I thought that was really interesting. So Brian's done quite a bit about Gabby Petito's last steps or her final days. I know he's come up with a lot of stonewalling, I guess you could say, a lot of silence. There's a lot of people that actually don't want to say much. So he's not getting... It's hard to say what story he's getting. I mean, you don't want to discount this witness and say she was wrong. So is the manager just playing down the situation? I don't know. But it seems really odd. There's like two conflicting stories. So going on for the rest of the show, I wanted to look at a couple of things. The Orrin and Orson West case from Bakersfield, the two little boys that went missing. I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but News Nation did they've done this new series with missing people, and they did a story on this, and it's really, really good. So I'd like to cover that. I'd like to have a look at updates on the Moab murders, the two girls, Kyron and Crystal, and see if there's any updates there. Also, updates on the abandoned kids in Texas. So I want to go through with you guys and check on updates, and hopefully I get enough time to go through everything. Tara says, makes no sense to me, people not working or not talking. I think it goes back to the woman newlyweds. Yeah, I don't know why people are being so quiet. Curious says, it would be good if someone else that witnessed it came forward. Yeah, that may be. It's just one witness that's come forward. It would be really helpful if other witnesses go forward. Will says, show us your haircut, TJ. It's shit. Well, she did a terrible, terrible job of it. And I can't do anything about it because it's really short with sticky uppy bits, and there's nothing I can do but let it grow. But anyway, there is a couple of missing people stories that's going on at the moment. Let me find just give me a minute. I'm trying to get some stories that I need here. So you guys know the Orson and Orrin West case? Because we'll take a little look at that now. It happened about 10 months ago, I think. But we do not want to forget about it. So this is from News Nation now, part of their missing persons cases. Missing in America, that's it.
Of two little boys in California. It is part of our continuing Missing in America series here on Prime. Orrin and Orson West, brothers, vanished from the backyard of their family home just days before Christmas. That was 10 months ago. And since then, the search for the then 3- and 4-year-old boys has been relentless. News Nation's Nancy Liu is digging into their case and the investigation into their disappearance. And she is joining us live tonight with their story. Nancy.
Marnie, a prayer gathering is underway right now here in Bakersfield because today marks exactly 10 months since Orrin and Orson West were reported missing. But even before, these young boys, these toddlers, they had gone through a lot of change in their lives, much of it in foster care. Their most recent stop was allegedly at a home in California City.
Good feeling. It's not nothing that you want to just sit up and think about all the time. You got to make yourself think about something different, positive, something happy, something better.
Biological father Charles Pettis is racked with heartache. In an exclusive interview, Pettis talks publicly for the first time about the mysterious disappearance of 4-year-old Orrin and his 3-year-old brother Orson.
They might not remember me, but I remember them. I'll show them. It don't matter how long it takes, how hard it's going to be, I will never give up.
It's been 10 months since the brothers were reported missing from this home in California.
Hey, Pookie, welcome, my hum. So good to see you. Glad you could make it.
21st, and Christmas was close. Adoptive father Trezell West says the boys were outside that afternoon playing with a family dog named Chalk.
She was actually wrapping gifts, so we thought it was a good idea that they go outside and play with Chalk on the back patio.
West claims he checked on the boys when he went out to get firewood.
Came in the house, saw it in there. Went in the house, came back out. I didn't see him there. I immediately went back in, asked my wife, "Did you see the boys?" She said no. They should be outside playing with Chalk. I didn't see them, so I came back outside and I started searching my backyard. I searched the whole thing.
The boys were gone, and West says he realized he had left the back gate open. The West spoke with local media 2 days after they called police, but they have not commented publicly since.
I don't want you guys thinking we didn't try. We actually looked before we called police.
Police were called around 6 p.m. Soon after, the neighborhood and the West home were thoroughly searched. The Wests eventually had their 2 biological and 2 other adoptive children removed from their care. And in March, Bakersfield...
I have to stop for a minute because of this. Little Pookie, you are so very, very kind, and you just don't know how much that means to me. It is amazing. Thank you so much, hon. I'm so glad you were able to make it today. So, Little Pookie, we looked at some trail cams from Carlton Reserve, which were quite interesting to see all the animals, the wild animals and predators that were there. And now we're just taking a look at remembering Orson and Orrin West case and just catching up with that. Thank you so much, Little Pookie.
Police took over the investigation due to more resources and family ties on both sides.
It's a puzzle, and there are key pieces that are missing. And we are using every legal means to figure out what happened and get the facts and circumstances behind what occurred.
Police admit to withholding over 90% of the evidence in this case to protect their investigation. And while the Wests aren't speaking with the media, police say they remain in contact with the Wests.
It's one of those situations where you open a door and that door leads to another hallway, which leads to another hallway, which leads to another hallway. So we haven't reached the end of our journey yet.
The boys were born as Sincere and Classic. Their biological parents lost custody in 2008.
Really interesting that the police admit that they are withholding 90% of their evidence to protect investigation. So they should, because, if this case does get solved, we want it to go ahead and with the right information and right evidence in that. So good on the police for doing that. But 90% is a lot, which makes you wonder what's going on there.
Due to a suspect leg injury, which relatives insist was not inflicted.
They took my family. They took my life away from me. My kids is my life. That's my family.
Biological cousin Rosanna Wills is among the loved ones convinced the boys were never in Cal City. The Wests had moved into the home in September and reported the boys missing just 3 months later.
Something happened.
The Wests have moved away, but are said to return periodically to check on the home. They have not attended any of the prayer gatherings or recent searches.
But we're the only ones out here, including the supporters, who are pushing for the boys. We haven't heard nothing from their side of the family, the adopted family.
There is a hefty reward in the case, and it's hoped more national awareness will bring the boys home.
So many other kids have coverage, but these 2 boys didn't from day one. I don't feel like they're deceased. I feel like somebody have them, and it might not be in California. But I don't know.
I have children. I have 3, and most people have children. Most people, we don't expect anybody's child to go missing and just disappear.
Jennifer Nobles has generously made sure that billboards and banners featuring the boys are
So the billboard that you actually see up there, this awesome lady was able to get about $2,000 worth of donations to start paying off that. And Police Off the Cuff is a news YouTube channel here, and with donations from their viewers, they were able to pay for the rest in getting that up. So just a shout out to them, because again, the YouTubers are doing it.
widely disseminated, even though the only available photos are well over a year old.
Even if they're a little bit old, I hope there's some feature, that they see on their face, their nose,
You're right,
their lips, or their
insightful.
eyes, or anything that just stands out to them that makes them question, like, could that be, one of the boys? Could it be just possibly?
There is a secret witness line just for this case. That number is 661-322-4040. The family and Bakersfield police implore anyone with information from before or after the boys disappeared to please call. Marnie?
Just vanished. Nancy, police aren't saying too much about their investigation all these months later. Can we read anything into what they have revealed and shared so far?
Well, there is a clear indication. The switch from Cal City Police to Bakersfield Police indicates that the heart of the case is here. Cal City is 70 miles away. Did something happen here in Bakersfield before that family moved to Cal City? We were out there yesterday. We talked with a neighbor who said he never saw those boys in Cal City. He also never heard children playing in that backyard. You would hear children squealing or laughing or talking to each other. He said he heard none of that.
So much heartbreak for this family and for the friends who you interviewed.
Is that odd? Is that odd that the neighbor said he'd never heard kids at that place ever? No yelling, no squealing, nothing. I'm a mum. My kids are older now, but kids make noise. Just a little odd to me, anywho, in my opinion, allegedly.
We've covered a lot of missing persons cases, generally adults. When a child goes missing, it is even more heartbreaking and harder, I would imagine, for police to search for little boys like Orrin and Orson.
Absolutely harder, because adults, we have a digital trail. We have our cell phones. We have computer searches. We have acquaintances that they can talk to. These are little boys. They didn't have any phones. They may not also have memories of their early lives, and they're physically smaller. So finding them is so tough. Hopefully they are together out there somewhere.
I share in that hope. They are babies, and they also don't know how to ask for help if something happened to them. Nancy Liu, live in California. Nancy, thank you. This past 4 weeks, we have brought you each and every story, these important stories. Daniel Robinson, Lauren Cho, Kira Coles, Najib Mansif, Alicia Navarro, and now these little West boys. Every missing person matters, and if you have a
every missing person does matter, and these guys are doing a tremendous job with their new series, Missing in America. There's one more that I'd like to play about a missing person from News Nation. They've done a great job in telling us about another missing person is only 15. So let's have a look at this one.
Each Friday here on the show, we're asking for your help to find a missing child. This week, we focus on Tegan Doherty, 15-year-old from Loudoun County, Tennessee. Tegan disappeared on October the 10th. His family says he was doing his house chores that morning and then he took off, leaving on his bike. Local and state police have been searching for him ever since. As you can imagine, his family extremely concerned about Tegan's safety. The Loudoun County Police Department says the morning of Tegan's disappearance, he left the area on this black bicycle with neon green stripes on the tires. Tegan wears prescription eyeglasses and had them on when he disappeared. About 5'6", local police urge anyone with any information to come forward. Joining me now is Angeline Hart, Media Director for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Angeline, as always, thank you for coming back on the show. Walk us through Tegan's disappearance.
Well, there's 4 people in this household. Mom, Tegan's mom, Tegan's stepdad, and Tegan's baby brother. The baby brother is about 5 months old. And Tegan, of course. Mom says that it's a regular Sunday morning. She gets up at about 6 a.m. She wakes him up too. Everybody's doing their share of household chores. She last sees Tegan. He's doing his laundry, and his assignment is to clean out his fish tank. Next thing she knows, at around 9 a.m., Tegan's gone. So they figured out that he took off on his bicycle. His fish is gone. He had his fish in a Tupperware container. And people kind of spotted him in the neighborhood later on that day. But then that was the last they saw of him. And he has no money, no cell phone, just the clothes on his back, no resources. And as you saw, his parents are very, very worried about him.
So you've got to believe then that the first place I would think that they would be talking to are neighbors and friends, et cetera, right, to see if he went there. I would presume if that had produced any evidence, we'd know about it. So there are any other leads in the case?
Well, Dan, this is a very small community. So, yes, they've talked to pretty much everybody they know. We're talking about a community of about 5,000 people here.
That's not many.
And they've gotten help from neighboring police agencies and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. And they've searched and searched, and they have not found him. Now, there have been some unconfirmed sightings that they're learning about even just within the last couple of days. They did find his backpack a couple of days after his disappearance. People in the neighborhoods were asked to go out and search your properties. And one person went out and walked his property and found Tegan's backpack. And inside that backpack was the fish, still alive, face up there in that little plastic container. But no Tegan, obviously.
Weird.
And it was not far from his home, less than a quarter mile away. So they hope that he's around this area, but nobody really knows for sure. Mom wants people to know that he has some cognitive delays. And even though he's 15, sometimes his behavior is more like a 9 or 10-year-old. And so
that might explain the odd parts of it, like taking his fish with him, because that sounds a little strange. But we're learning now that he may have some cognitive problems, and that he can sometimes act more like 10 years old rather than 15, which may explain some of the odd parts of this case.
May factor in all of this.
And I think one of the key factors as we show these pictures of Tegan, some of them when he was much younger, are the ones where he's wearing glasses like this one. Because as you let us know, he does wear prescription eyeglasses. So obviously, hopefully, he still has those. Is law enforcement there in Loudoun County telling you anything about this?
Yeah, I mean, they've searched and searched, and they said, they're hoping really that he has found some kind of friendly face who's maybe taken him in and doesn't really know the story, or they're hoping he's getting help from somebody out there, because it's hard to imagine that he could go this long on his own, right? And so at this point, really, investigators don't know. They've searched as far as South Dakota. They know he has some relatives out there. One theory is that he's on his way to see his biological dad in Alaska. But these are just like far-fetched kinds of theories. Everybody's really hoping that he's still there somewhere in that community.
Well, the thing that makes me nervous is that discovery that you mentioned of the backpack with the fish in it, right? Because if he took the time to take the fish with him on the trip, and then he's left that backpack with the fish, it makes you more nervous that
right.
maybe someone else got involved here.
Yeah, maybe he left it there for a little bit and was going for a bike ride and was going to come back. Who knows? And maybe they should have left the backpack right where it was so that Tegan could come back and find it. But it's just really hard to say.
And just this is maybe sound like an odd question, but we identified that bike with the green on it that we're looking at. It looks like the picture we see of him there, he's younger. Is he still fitting on that same bike? That's the same bike that he had at the time he left?
I didn't ask that specifically, Dan, but yeah,
okay,
apparently he loves to be on his bike. He loves being outdoors. He rides his bike everywhere. So, I'm thinking that's a pretty recent photo his mom gave me.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to get any kind of detail that we possibly can for people. And if the backpack was still there and the bike wasn't, again, that suggests, as you point out, that maybe he was on the bike going for a ride
so
somewhere else,
strange,
etc. And that's why I'm trying to focus so much on that bike.
Yeah. Well, as we mentioned, this is a small community, and it seems like everybody knows that he's missing here, right? 5,000 people, and so you can look at it two ways. It's very, very scary. We were trying not to think that something bad happened to him. We're, as I said, one theory is that maybe somebody has kind of taken him in and is just being patient with him and not really knowing the whole story. And so a lot of times, Dan, when children take off kind of like this, sometimes what happens is that they take off and then they hear people are looking for them and they get a little scared to come back. They think they're going to be in trouble, right?
Yeah.
So we want Tegan to know, it's okay to come home. People are looking for you, but it's not a bad thing, right?
Yep.
Especially since he has these cognitive issues. We want to let him know it's okay. You're not in trouble.
That's a really
important.
good point. Yep. Angeline Hartman, thank you so much.
So that's a really interesting or odd story, and you guys had some things to say about. I'm just looking for any said. They say missing abducted children are usually killed within the first 3 to 24 hours. Unfortunately, yes, but let's hope this is not that. Let's hope that he's just run away. The FBI statistics for children alone was over 300,000 in the USA missing from Little Pookie. That is a scary, scary number, very scary number. And he says it sounds like he ran away. Initially, it does sound like that he's run away with his backpack and his fish. Obviously, he was very close to his fish. That's why he wanted to take it. But then why would he leave the backpack and the fish? That's what the problem is. Insightful says, I don't think he'd go through the trouble to take his fish in the backpack and then just leave it. Right. It just doesn't make sense. Insightful. And he says, exactly was he taken whilst trying to run away? Well, we don't know. Annie says maybe lured somewhere if he's got a younger than usual mind. Yeah, possibly. Let's hope that somebody is with him. And yeah, Curious says there's a big age difference between him and the baby. Maybe he was feeling left out. I guess we won't ever know. Let's hope we do know. Let's hope that he's okay and we can find him. Insightful says someone may have lured him out, told him to meet up. When Aisha Degree went missing, she packed a backpack and left home. They didn't find her, but they found. Yes. The Aisha Degree story is definitely something different again. Very, very bizarre. I kind of think that's why missing persons cases intrigue me, because some of them are just so bizarre and you just don't have answers for what could have possibly happened. So I think maybe it's the mystery of it. You know what I mean? But very, very sad. So now I want to go and look at Brian Enton's Twitter, because he is covering a case from the Teton National Park, and that's where Gabby was found dead, but there is actually someone missing from there at the moment. So I'm just in Wyoming. He's from Ireland, and his parents or his mum is very, very upset. So I'm just trying to find the right video and such to share it for you. When my computer says play and actually plays, that'll be good. So McGlock, I can't even pronounce this guy's name. Kyron, is it Kyron? Here we go. Why haven't I got sound?
Irishman went missing. His last known activity, hiking in the Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming.
My hope is to, it's not a rescue, it's a recovery, but I'd like to bring him home. You know, I know he's up there somewhere.
Now his family is combing through the mountains in hopes of finding some sign of him.
His car was obviously seen here on June 8th, and the Rangers, despite the Rangers' massive search, I think they've done over 5,000 hours, and we still have had no luck in finding anything.
His mother believes he planned on a one-day hiking trip, then somehow got off course.
Very outgoing guy, loved the outdoors.
They are asking anyone in that area to review any videos or photos from that time. They've even started a GoFundMe to sponsor the family's stay in the United States. And they've started the hashtag #FindKid and also hashtag #BringKid urging people to submit clues.
He's 6 foot tall, he's tattoos, he was wearing a white t-shirt, shorts, and he had a bottle of water. So it was a day hike for sure. He was well versed in the mountains. He grew up hiking with me.
Although the official search operation has scaled back, park rangers say their investigation is far from over.
The search for Ken won't end from our perspective until we find him. So tactics shift over time, and we're coming on towards winter. We expect that snow will fall on the ground, which will make some of the clues we're looking for a little more difficult to find. There are items that we believe that he had with him, and those are things that we might see out in the landscape.
News Nation, Wyoming, Felicia Bolton.
Crazy.
A mother's last hope is now in her own hands.
Crazy how many people go missing in that park. But the good thing is it sounds like they've got a lot of searches in there. So let's hope that this guy is found. His mum is so strong. She is worried that once winter comes, all hope of finding her son will fade. He's been missing since June the 8th. So that was a while ago, guys. Very, very sad. 7 hours ago, he said the mum was told this is no longer a rescue mission, but a recovery mission. She recognises that, but needs closure. So information there if you have any, and like I said, I'll put the descriptions in the the links in the description box below of anything we watch so that you can actually go yourself. Please give us a like if you're just standing by. Right. So I wanted to check up on the abandoned kids in Texas, in Houston. A really disturbing story, very disturbing. So I'm going to definitely take a look. Tara says, I donated $500 when I heard about it first because she was alone. Oh, that's very, very nice of you. That's so nice. Let me see, guys, if I can find the latest information to see if there's any more. Okay, we've got something here. Let's take a look. That Tara, that's very generous. Very, very generous. Okay, so this is NBCnews.com. And let's have a look. Again, just waiting for my computer to do what it should. You know. Well, I don't know what it's doing now. It's doing the funky chicken because it does. Let's go back and not watch it. I will give it a read instead. Otherwise, we could be here forever. Okay, the mother of 3 siblings found abandoned in a Houston area apartment along with the skeletal remains of their 8-year-old brother told authorities she did not report the death because she was afraid, according to court documents. The mother, Gloria Williams, and her boyfriend, Brian Coulter, were both arrested Tuesday and charged in the death of Kendrick Lee. Authorities believe Kendrick was killed around Thanksgiving last year. A criminal complaint accuses Coulter, which is the boyfriend, of kicking the child and striking him with his hand. It says Coulter intentionally, knowingly, and recklessly caused serious injury to Kendrick, resulting in his death. Before her arrest, Williams told investigators she did not report the death because Coulter had told her not to, and she was afraid she would go to jail and lose custody of her children if police knew the documents state. Attorneys for Williams and Coulter did not immediately respond Thursday for comment. After Kendrick had been beaten, Williams went into the room and saw him lying on the floor. After the other 3 children, 15, 10, and 7, had witnessed the attack, and Williams made them leave while she fought with Coulter, the station reported, citing court documents that were read out loud. The 7 and 10-year-olds told authorities they saw Coulter use his fist and feet to kick Kendrick in his face, buttocks, back, legs, and testicles, according to the court document. I'm going to have to demonetize this video after reading that information, unfortunately. Very, very terrifying. Brian Coulter continued to stare at Kendrick as he kicked him. The 7-year-old said Kendrick's eyes were black and he stopped blinking during the assault. The 7-year-old said they pulled back the covers and saw Kendrick was really dead and saw roaches everywhere on him, court records state. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I didn't really put in a disclaimer about what I'm reading. I didn't realize it was going to be so descriptive. So if this is too much for you, please don't watch it. I don't want to upset anybody. The 15-year-old said Williams moved out of the apartment months after the fatal beating in March. Authorities were called to the apartment Sunday after the 15-year-old contacted police and said his brother's body was in the room next to his. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez said the boy led officers to a crime scene that shook even the most seasoned investigators because of circumstances too horrific to be real. The dead child was found underneath a blanket. And these are the children, his brothers, were in the same apartment by themselves with this. In the midst of the darkness in this horrific situation, I'm so glad that the 15-year-old finally reached out for help, Gonzalez said at a news conference Wednesday. I'm glad that he found assistance at the end of the other line with one of our call takers. And I'm comforted to know that when he opened the door and there was a Harris County Sheriff's Office deputy there, that they could finally receive the care and protection that they needed for so long. According to Gonzalez, the apartment was unfurnished, full of roaches and flies, and had soiled carpeting. The 3 children were thin, malnourished, and hungry. Family members of Williams said they had no idea Kendrick was dead and the other 3 children had been abandoned. They told KPRC that Williams was estranged from the family and only reached out when she needed money. Every 3 to 6 months, she had a new phone number, said her cousin. Every 3 to 6 months, she's moving apartments, so we never had a solid address for her. Craig said when they could reach Williams and ask how the children were, she would tell them that everything was fine. She kept saying, they're okay, they're in school. Anytime we did go help and ask where are the kids at, she would say, oh, they are in school. We never had an apartment number, he said. She would always be like, I'll meet you all at the front of the apartments. We didn't think anything of it. The family said Williams has a total of 6 children ranging in age from 7 to 17, but did not have custody of her 2 girls who are not in the apartment. Kendrick and another boy had autism, the family told news station. According to Craig, Kendrick was mostly non-verbal. My mama has been asking for Kendrick since the day he was born, and she kept telling her no, Craig said. We knew that with all of the kids, eventually she was not going to be able to be the best parent she could be. The family said they will fight to get custody of the 3 children abandoned in the apartment. Wow. That is absolutely disgusting, absolutely crazy. I just don't understand how this can happen, you know. There's going to be question answered about why no one noticed that the kids were living in this situation. The school district is going to have to answer some questions. Why these kids weren't at school? Why wasn't it noticed that they weren't in school? Tara says the man who bought the 15-year-old a pizza says he thought the kid was living alone, just saw mother coming and going. Then says, how did you all like the pizza? Don't know. Insightful says, lady is crazy. She didn't even live with them. Why would she be afraid to lose them? Exactly. She says she didn't ring because she was afraid she'd lose them. Well, she didn't look after them anyway. So, what? Pookie says, Tara, the whole thing is bizarre. 15-year-olds don't live alone. Right? Starving ones at that, I guess. Tara says, grandmother has one of, and the biological father has the kids not in home. Pam Smith said they were able to slide because of COVID. Possibly. Yep, you're absolutely right. They could. It might have happened because there was so much going on with COVID. And like Pam says here, they were keeping kids home, which is definitely a possibility. But it's just sad that these kids slid through the cracks so desperately and so bad. It just breaks my heart. Right, I'm going to go and look up to see if there is any updates with the 4-year-old missing in Australia, Miss Cleo Smith. Absolutely tragic story as well. And yeah. So we're going to look at a couple. I'll put them on screen. This first one is from nzherald.co.nz, and this was released yesterday on the 30th of October. Because if you ain't here in New Zealand, it's actually like midday, the 31st of October on Sunday. Crazy, eh? So it says Cleo Smith's disappearance, disturbing clues point to abduction. It's been more than 14. Hang on, computer. It's been 14 days since Western Australian girl Cleo Smith vanished from the tent where her parents and baby sister were also sleeping. Her disappearance remains a mystery. The 4-year-old has vanished without a trace after her mum, Ellie, woke at 6 a.m. to find her missing on Saturday, October the 16th. The 4-year-old, got that. The last time they saw their little girl was at 1:30 a.m. when she asked for a drink of water. The family's tent was set up at a remote campsite. Now I lost at the Blowholes, which is almost 10 hours away from Perth. And signs that Cleo had been abducted in the middle of the night. Her sleeping bag was missing and the entrance to the tent was unzipped to a height that the young girl could not have reached to let herself out. When Cleo's parents discovered her missing, they conducted a frantic search of the campsite before making a 000 call at 6:23 a.m. 7 minutes later, police were dispatched, arriving at the campsite around 7:10 a.m. with a drone requested about 7:30 a.m. A roadblock was set up at about 8:34 a.m. to the entrance of the Blowholes camp, and the site was cordoned off about 2 hours after the police arrived. Homicide detectives were sent to the scene later that day. Since then, police have conducted numerous land, air and sea searches in one of the biggest hunts in Western Australian history. They have also forensically examined a family home in Carnarvon for further clues about Cleo's disappearance, including dusting windows and doors for fingerprints and taking away brown paper bags. Her family are not considered suspects by police. Very important, not considered suspects by police. So never, wouldn't I tolerate any bashing against the parents there. And the reason they're searching the house is because they wanted to see if it was someone was watching them or stalking them before they went. And anything that could give them, some tips. They have not returned to their home. It's too painful to be there without Cleo. Meanwhile, the little girl's scooter still sits out the front of the house. The Western Australian government has offered a $1 million reward to help solve the case, while there has been a nationwide appeal calling on the public to help. There are now 100 members of Task Force Rhodia, which was set up in the wake of Cleo's disappearance. But heartbreakingly, there are still no signs of Cleo, with fears she could be anywhere in Australia. Tara says, so if it's anything, it could be the parents. Well, you're technically right, but they are saying very, very affirmatively here that the family are not considered suspects. There's too many things going wrong with camping at the moment. This one reminds me of, do your small child vanished while camping? I know, right? It's just, it happens so often. It's crazy. Hey, Julie, welcome back, hon. Yeah, we're still going. Mysterious car. The Blowholes is in such a remote part of the country that there is only one sealed road into the area, which comes off the northwest coastal highway and ends at the campsite. Police are searching for a car that was spotted in the darkness by two men, apparently heading to work, and have appealed for the driver to come forward. Police are searching for a car that was... I keep repeating myself. I'll move on. It was seen turning right off Blowholes Road onto Northwest Coastal Highway, heading towards Carnarvon between 3 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. the day Cleo disappeared. The description given by the man was of a passenger vehicle, such as a sedan or wagon. And I don't know what the public is supposed to do with that information. We don't even have a colour of a car. Police have repeatedly indicated the person may not be a suspect but may have relevant information. But it's been a week since the appeal and no one has come forward. CCTV footage from a Rio Tinto mine site and nutrition business along the Blowholes Road have given no more clues about the car and who was in it. Disturbingly, there are a number of dirt roads and trails where someone could disappear along without being seen, and police have indicated they are looking into them. A back way out of the campsite is also being investigated by police. Despite collecting CCTV from across the state with a big focus on businesses located in Carnarvon where the family lived, which is about 70k from the Blowholes, as well as dash cam footage, there have been no solid leads for police. Carnarvon locals have rallied around the young family with missing child posters and stickers flooding the town on business doors as well as people's car, which is really good to hear. Said, I asked someone who has a channel how he thought COVID was going to affect parks and other people are coming up missing. I guess the answer is it made it worse, right? Good, someone who'd have seen a car, though. It would be a bigger mystery if people hadn't reported that. Absolutely. I'm glad they reported it. It just, it's just such a vague description that I don't know what we could do with it. Lead investigator Detective Superintendent Rod Wild confirmed on Friday that police did not have any suspects at this stage in the mysterious case. He flew into the town on Thursday to meet with Cleo's parents and to tour the campsite, revealing 100 people at the Blowholes on the day of the girl's disappearance had been interviewed, but they still had others to find. There have also been 200 reported sightings of Cleo, but all have led to nothing. Superintendent Wild also confirmed police were reviewing past reports of approaches to children in the area amid rumours of prior predatory behaviour, including peeping Toms. Meanwhile, the Blowholes campsite has reopened this week and some caravans have parked at the site while a few people have pitched their tent. Cleo's mum shared a reward poster for her little girl just 2 days ago on Instagram and urged people to call Crime Stoppers. And I'll put a link to this as well as just a few part of a timeline. Okay, we'll go to one that was a couple of hours ago. From abc.net.au, Cleo Smith's disappearance puts her anguished parents in an unwanted social media spotlight. And I think we all have a bit of an opinion on the role social media plays in some cases. So this is going to be interesting. It's a tired cliche that often gets used on inappropriate occasions, but in the case of missing 4-year-old Cleo Smith, it's based on an awful, inescapable reality. It really is every parent's nightmare. Cleo disappeared in the early hours of October 16 while on a camping trip with her family to the Blowholes, and she has not been seen since. For a bubbly preschooler to simply vanish into the Australian outback is the stuff of nightmares and horror movies, almost teetering into the realm of supernatural. It also speaks to a deep unspoken terror that lurks in the dark recesses of every parent's mind, that their child could somehow be snatched from their loving care. We don't talk about it much, both because it's too awful to contemplate and out of the irrational fear that voicing it could somehow make it happen. We know well the names of these infamous cases of children who vanished and never returned, and the anguish the parents seen in countless desperate pleas for information. The McCanns, the Morecams, all very, very sad stories. It can be harsh, unforgiving spotlight amplified in recent times by angry mobs on social media. This is the terrible place Cleo's parents, Mum Ellie and stepfather Jake, have found themselves in the past fortnight, a place that no parent ever wants to be. Twice so far, they have made the brave decision to put themselves in front of the cameras and be questioned by journalists while desperately pleading for information, no matter how small, that might help in the search for their beloved daughter. The raw emotion and terrible strain they have been under was apparent to anyone who watched them as they spoke of their love for their beautiful and sweet little girl. A little girl too small to reach the zip on the part of the tent she was sleeping in with her baby sister. A child who still woke in the night to ask Mum for a drink of water. A child whose spark and vitality is clearly visible in the many treasured family photos. Yet her parents, whose level of suffering must be unimaginable, have not been immune from criticism from those who haven't tried to walk a mile in their shoes. We all have memories of the story from Lindy Chamberlain, A Dingo Stole My Baby. And this lady was put through hell, absolute hell. Hey, Opaline, nice to see you. Many, many years. And to this day, people say that she did something to her daughter. While there have been many, many outpourings of support for them across social media, there have also been those quick to throw stones, people who seemingly can't accept their recounting of what happened that night, people who think they know better. There are distinct echoes of the treatment meted out to Lindy Chamberlain and the attitudes of those armchair commentators and keyboard warriors. Then Miss Chamberlain, a woman ultimately exonerated over the tragic and horrifying death of her 9-week-old baby daughter, Azaria, was judged to have not shown sufficient emotion when interviewed on camera about their infant's disappearance and was firmly declared guilty in the court of public opinion. So what they're saying, again, is Lindy Chamberlain was attacked on social media, saying she didn't show enough emotion. But this is, we don't know what emotion people are going to say. I don't know what emotion people expect. I don't show emotion. When my mum died last year, I do not show emotion in front of anyone. Does that mean I didn't love her? No, it didn't. People don't always show emotion like you'd expect. You know what I mean? Opaline says zipper doesn't mean anything. It can be put in any position after the fact. Yeah, possibly. Pam says they prove she didn't. Poor woman has to live with those images of her baby's last moments. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Just tragic. Just absolutely tragic. And we've seen it in the Gabby Petito case. How much social media are digging in to the Laundries, really, because they're not showing enough emotion for this and they're not showing emotion. I'm not giving the Laundries a free pass. Don't even think about that. But it all shows up on social media. It's like lynch mobs are formed in some rooms, in some channels. And some people listen to a creator and think that their word is golden. Or the creator said, they didn't show enough emotion or whatever. And then all the subs think the same. And it just goes around and, I don't know. It's just crazy. Chat's going a bit crazy. Yes, that poor Lindy Chamberlain had to watch or know that a dingo took her baby and get blamed for that for her whole life. Sorry, Pam Hun, that's awful. Julie, we have to wait for the facts. I always felt Lindy was innocent. It split my family down the middle. Yeah, it's not only like splitting the internet down the middle, it's creating family divides. I mean, that's just terrible. Tara said if it wasn't for social media, she would never have been found. So there's the other side of social media. If Red, White and Bethune didn't have their dash cam going and catch or caught Gabby's van, her body may never have been found. So social media definitely has some role to play, don't they? Kaleidoscope, welcome, hun. Good to see you. Curious says, I seen a recent interview of Lindy, really felt that she was put through all that stuff. Yeah. Kaleidoscope, we were just reading you know, the 4-year-old Cleo Smith missing in Australia. There's nothing, no updates as such, but we were just sort of talking about the role that social media plays in accusing parents of things that have happened without any information or evidence, and creating sort of lynch mobs on social media to parents who are grieving the loss of loved ones. You know what I mean? Oh, it's just terrible. People grieve different, and that's really not our business how they grieve. Yeah, you're right, Pam. Yeah. Yeah, talking about the dingo stole my baby lady. Her name is Lindy Chamberlain. Pam Smith says, yes, TJ, especially since he sent that last text about being in Yosemite. Yeah, that's weird. It was weird. Costume, Kaleidoscope. Are you doing your Halloween costume? Let us know what it's like. Let it know what it is. So in New Zealand, it's already the 31st today. It's a Sunday. If kids come to my house, I'll just ignore the door. But it's really not that popular here. You know, you may have like 7 kids that knock at your door, if that. So it's not exactly big. Tara says, never heard of the dingo story, even saying scares me. Here in the USA, we blame dingo for everything, and we don't have them. They are like taboo. Wow, that's interesting. Little Pookie says, when I think of Indigenous women, I think of you. Annie says, I find it fascinating when kids go missing, and when you do find out they were in on it, watching the interviews back and looking for signs. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Opaline, I've grown not to trust parents right away. I'm sorry I feel that way, but after all the horrific stories we hear about, it's hard to trust anyone. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But then there are those cases where the parents don't do anything, and this scrutiny that they receive and the outlashing of disgusting comments and stuff is not okay either. Kaleidoscope's going to be a unicorn. Very interesting. Pam says he did so they would look at their, not Teton part. And he says, happy Halloween. No kids knocking on your door because of lockdown. Hey, if there's some positives of being in lockdown, Annie, I know there's not many, but my channel's one. And maybe kids not knocking at your door for sweets is another. Curious says, our neighbourhood is going all out this year, expecting quite a few kids. Wow. Interesting. Tara, God, here we had 3 girls kept for 15 years in a basement. They had TV and watched TV. Yeah, I remember that one, Tara. I can't remember the girls' names. But yeah, that was another disturbing story. So the other case I wanted to check up on is the Moab murders of Kyron and Crystal. I'm going to have a look and see what we can find. I do know that Brian Enter now is going to be looking at that case and giving it some airtime, which I think is awesome. Awesome. T-Rex, I think, is trying to say Cleveland. It's such a tough line between knowing when parents are to blame and when they are unfairly targeted. It really is. It really is. We look at anything we look at, don't we? We look at their behavior. We look at something they say. We look at how they say it. We look at all sorts of things. But I don't mind speculation, but I like it to be based on facts or evidence. I don't like just speculation that's just pulled out of the air with nothing backing it up. You know what I mean? And at this moment in time, there is no evidence or facts to suggest that the parents were involved. And that's what I'm going to run on, right? My opinions are not always welcome. I have been bullied on live streams in the past for some of my views, but that's just what I think. Tara says, I loved No Halloween, keep off my lawn. Pookie says, sad to blame the parents when they are already in grief and shock. Absolutely. That's what I feel like too. No lockdown here. Halloween as usual. Where are you from, Kaleidoscope of Crime? Tell us where you're from, hon. Pam says, Ohio Valley too close for comfort. Right. So it's awesome that Mr. Brian Enton is going to go and cover Kyron and Crystal's case, because it feels like it got very lost in the Gabby and Petito case. You know what I mean? So it definitely deserves some attention. I can't see anything that's been released lately. Opaline says, yes, I'm waiting for CCTV to be released. I really hope it is released in any other digital proof, right? You're in Canada. 11th of the 10th. So I'm just trying to find any updates that we haven't talked about. And the latest I've seen is like 5 days ago, 3 days ago, which we've already talked about. Okay. Tara says, look, that case, Cleveland case, every girl knew this guy and was overlooked because he was liked. And he says, well, it'd be great if they could find those satellite images of any vehicles, etc., that the PI was talking about. Yes, absolutely. So I've got, and this I've got an article here, and it might be stuff that we've already gone over, but we'll have a look anyway. So this is KSL.com, Grand County seeking digital evidence connected to the double killings. And this is, I think we've already heard a little bit about this, but I'll just go over a little bit. Investigators are getting more digital evidence in the killings of 2 women near Moab earlier this year. They're hoping data from a nearby cell phone tower can help them pinpoint who else was at the scene. The bodies of Crystal and her wife Kyron were found at a campsite near the LaSalle Loop Road near Moab. Both of them were partially disrobed with multiple gunshots, wounds to their backs, sides, and chests. While investigators were on the scene, they called 911 to pinpoint the nearest cell phone tower, and investigators say it's a tower operated by Verizon in the Jimmy Keene Flats. So basically, what they are asking for this warrant to do is get a cell phone dump from this cell phone tower, and what it will give is any other cell phones were in the area around the time the girls died, they'll be able to see it. So basically, it's going to be very, very interesting. It says a newly released search warrant shows investigators asked for a tower dump of information of all cell phones that were connected within the crime scene area between 9 p.m. August 13th and 9 a.m. August 15th. And you shouldn't expect investigators to divulge what they found for a while. So they're going to be keeping information quite close to them. Pam says he didn't make it to trial either. Oh, yeah, that guy. Can't remember his name. I've got such a bad memory. Jose something, wasn't it? Hung himself. You're okay with that? Opaline says, so strange how many bodies have been found where Brian Laundrie has been. I think the count, Opaline, has been like 7 bodies or 7 people have been found or something. It's insane. There was even one guy found in a shack. He'd like skipped bail or something and had been camping out there for a while. Curious said, it's sad how we tear people up that we don't even know. I'd rather say something after. Yeah. You're right. The girl's cell phone, Brian Enton said, had no service, just off Wi-Fi. Right. We do know that a phone was found with the girls, but they have not released whose cell phone it was or anything else. And he says, I feel so sorry for Crystal, who would have seen her love being shot, then having to run for her life and then get shot herself. That's just so terrible, isn't it? Oh, just terrible, terrible. Curious says, me too. I reserve my opinion. I might have my own theories, but mostly keep them to myself until there's evidence. Yeah, I'm the same. I don't like to. But, there are some channels that just are about speculation. They don't care. They'll say anything, whether there's any evidence pointing to it or any facts, they'll just go with it. And I think some of those channels are very, very dangerous, especially when children are involved. I find it quite distasteful for some of the speculation that can go on, in my opinion, just in mine. Pookie says, treat others the way we'd like to be treated. Yeah, it's simple and it works. Tara says, if my computer moves. His name was Ariel Castro. That's right. Did you discuss the storage unit? The storage unit is really, really weird. Why on earth did Brian fly from Utah? Because I'm sure she was in a hotel in Utah, right? And fly all the way to Florida. He was there for a week and then emptied out the stuff in the locker. And the reason that was told is because they were paying monthly for the locker, and his dad said he could put the stuff at his own house now, so they didn't have to pay the monthly fee, and they could put that money towards their trip and save money. Okay. But spending all that money to do 2 flights doesn't make sense, just to save a small monthly fee. And your dad could have moved that stuff out of storage for you, couldn't he? Couldn't he? I don't know. That's weird. Tara, that case gives me hope some of the missing children people will be found one day. Tara says, no, the 2 girls storage unit. I didn't actually know anything about that, Tara. So, yeah, let me know what you're talking about, because I've never heard about it. And he says, I've never heard about the girls storage unit either. My theory on that is after the fight. So, my theory for why Brian flew back to Florida is maybe they had, their relationship was really toxic. It was really, really passionate. They fought, they made up. They were stuck together. I think maybe, in my opinion, allegedly, they had a fight and he left and flew back to Florida. And then Gabby could have sent him messages and they were talking to each other and they decided to get back together and he flew back. I mean, I don't know. It seems odd that he would go just for the storage unit. Pam says they broke up and he flew home, then decided to clean out storage unit. That makes a little bit more sense though, doesn't it? To rip her off and take everything she had. I don't know about that, Pam, but yeah, definitely odd to me. There's got to be another explanation for that trip. You know what I mean? And he says, yeah, why else would you leave in the middle of your big cross-country trip? And it was only 4 days after they got back together after that roadside domestic. Yeah, it's just odd. It's just very, very odd. So there's got to be something. I hope one day that information does come out. JS, welcome. Curious Kiwi about Cleo's missing car. I think if someone made that much effort to tiptoe and take her, they wouldn't peel out of the camp, possibly waking the parents. You're absolutely right. I didn't think about that, JS. You're absolutely right. Who's going to steal a little girl, abduct her, and then do a peel out as they take off to bring attention to themselves? that definitely makes no sense. Kerry says, I wonder if he ran out of meds and had to go home for treatment. Who knows? That's a possibility. But we do not know if he was, there's been rumours that he has mental health issues, but we don't know for real. There's never been anything to corroborate that. So we just don't know. Opaline says, I agree. I'm so happy to see all you new guys in here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Please give us a like. I really appreciate it. So we've gone over quite a bit today. Is there anything else or any other cases that you guys would like to look up and see if there's any information about? Hang on. Come on, computer. Tara says everyone was asleep. Any sightings would have been people running from tents. Right. He said on dash cam neither of them took meds. Right. So he said in Utah when they got pulled over, you're right, Pam, I remember now. He said that they both don't take any meds. Curious says, did they really peel out? I haven't seen the official reports. So in the early days when Cleo went missing, there was a couple of articles that alluded to the fact that some people may have heard a car screeching out of the campground, but it was never confirmed. So it was just sort of, alluding to that fact. Nice chat. Thank you, Have to Run. It's been great having you, Opaline. Thank you. Perky says, I would like to see Sarah Boone. I have never heard of Sarah Boone. I'll have a look. Sarah Boone. Here's spell. Tara says there's no colour of car, right? No, not at all, which is weird. Okay. Hearsay. Well, you're actually right, yeah. No, Tara, there wasn't even a model of a car given. It wasn't even colour. No, just that there was a car. She killed her husband by zipping him. That sounds lovely. Okay, we'll take a look at this for you, Pookie. OrlandoSentinel.com. Woman taunted boyfriend as he begged to be let out of a suitcase. Oh my God, look at all these ads and stuff. Come on, guys. Videos show he later died. As her boyfriend, her name from inside a suitcase on the floor of their Orange County apartment, Sarah Boone laughed and taunted him while filming from across the room, telling him in slurred words that he deserved to suffer for everything you've done to me. If you, she said. The video, one of two obtained by the Orlando Sentinel through a public records request, helped lead to 42-year-old Boone's arrest on second-degree murder charges and the death of her boyfriend, Jorge. Is it Jorge or George? Don't mean to sound rude, but I don't know. Boone ended up going to sleep the night of February 23rd and left Torres inside the suitcase, authorities allege. When she awoke the next day, she found him dead. Wow. She initially told Orange County Sheriff's investigators she and Torres had been drinking and playing hide and seek in their apartment near Aloma and North Palmetto Avenues in the Goldenrod area, but her story fell apart when detectives found the videos on her phone. The videos and investigative documents were released by the Orange Osceola State Attorney's Office in response to a public records request. The first video lasts about 2 minutes and was taken at 11:12 p.m. Feb 23, according to law enforcement. He pleaded, I can't effing breathe, seriously. She said, yeah, that's what you do when you choke me. Throughout the video, the suitcase wobbles as Torres attempts to get out and Boone films him from a few feet away. She said, that's on you. That's what I feel like when you cheat on me, she said, after Torres again said he couldn't breathe. You should probably shut the F up. The second video, which lasted 22 seconds, was taken at 11:23 p.m. and shows the suitcase right side up and a few feet from where it was in the first video. Torres called Boone's name before she stopped recording. Boone later told detectives she went upstairs and fell asleep, thinking he could get himself out. She woke up around 11 a.m., 24 Feb, and went downstairs looking for him. She realized she last saw him in the suitcase and opened it, finding his body. She said her ex-husband called around 12:50 p.m. and she told him what happened and asked him to come over, according to documents. When he arrived at the apartment about 10 minutes later, he told her to call 911. She said to the dispatcher, "My boyfriend is dead." She recounted the hide-and-seek story to the dispatcher and said she took him out of the suitcase and conducted a failed attempt of CPR. Dispatchers walked her through another round of CPR before paramedics arrived. The dispatcher said, "This is horrific. What happened?" Like, what happened? Paramedics pronounced Torres dead shortly after 1 p.m. An autopsy showed he had injuries on his forehead, bruises on his shoulder, a busted lip, and scratches on his back. A cause of death was still being investigated. Whew, I'm going to take a break from reading that. Wow. Thanks, Pookie. That's a real interesting one. All right, let's grab a couple of comments. Curious Kiwi. Pam, I think he was taking meds, but they blocked out all noise when he said what he was taking. Right. I might have to watch it again, Kiwi, because I didn't think I heard him say that. JS, no mention of a car colour, but Jake appears to work 10 minutes from the camp at the Lake McLeod site for Rio Tinto Mining Company, possibly a good place to hide a body if they're responsible. Absolutely. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that the police would cover that information, but we know from the police that they are not suspecting the parents. Tara says, Boone said she was playing a game of hide and seek with Torres when she zipped him into a seat coast thinking it would be funny. Obviously, he couldn't go out. I mean, she said she went to bed because she thought he could get out. If he could get out, he would have done so. He wouldn't be begging her to let him out and saying he couldn't breathe and asking for help if he could get out. This is just nuts. JS says the news showed a dummy suspect vehicle leaving campground, but the computer-generated car they used as a model was the silver Toyota Mum owns. Very interesting. Very interesting. Kaleidoscope says taunting and recording him. Holy, that's cold, right? If he's that bad, leave him. Don't kill him. Absolutely. Absolutely. And he says, why would you zip someone into a suitcase if playing hide and seek? You usually hide yourself. Someone else doesn't do it. Not a clever story. You're absolutely right, Annie. It's not a clever story at all. Pam says, I need to go back and watch it again. He also said he didn't have a phone, then pulled one out of his pocket a few minutes later. Yeah, I know that part, Kiwi. The phone he pulled out, I was actually going to say the phone that he pulled out was at Gabby's, but Gabby had her own phone because she was in the back seat with the phone. Right. Now, I wanted to touch on one other story. Kyron Horman. Have you guys heard of that story? I just seen someone around that wanted to know more about that case. So I just thought I would go over it. But I'm just trying to find an article that's decent enough to read and waiting for my computer to load it. Come on, man. Come on. Okay. Let me see. So this one is katu.com. And this was 5th of June, 2021. Kyron Horman. Pam says he told them he took her because he had none. I think he took hers because that's where all the accounts were. He had no money. Right. But she did have a phone in the back of the police car, did she not? Because didn't she ring her mum or something? Or am I wrong? Okay, so 11 years since Kyron Horman disappeared, Mum says she'll never stop fighting. Friday marked 11 years since Kyron Horman disappeared from his elementary school in Portland. It was a case that rocked this community to its core and one so many of us still agonise over today. Kyron was only 7 when he went missing. He was last seen by his stepmother, Terry, who said she dropped him off at school. On Friday, Kyron's mother, Desiree Young, posted a message on Facebook upset with county, suggesting it wasn't doing enough to find her son. She said things are too quiet and it sounds like Multnomah County may not even know that they are still searching for Kyron. This is not acceptable and I will be taking it to their doorstep. Kyron, I love you. I will never stop fighting for you. And that unfortunately didn't tell me much about the case. That one, it wasn't good as I thought. Kira said, yes, she did. She said he was ringing family. This one makes you mad. Yeah, I'll have a look at a better one, hopefully. Kira says, I hate watching that footage, but I'm going to have to watch it again. I know, right? Could you imagine the poor family having to watch that footage over and over again? Because I know that they follow some news stations on YouTube. And some of the footage that's replayed over and over and over again, I just really feel for the family. Okay, I'm going to go to Wikipedia because I think that's probably where I'm going to get the best information. Okay, so Kyron Horman is an American boy who disappeared from Skyline Elementary School in Oregon on June 4th, 2010 after attending a science fair. Local and state police, along with the FBI, conducted an exhaustive search for Horman and launched a criminal investigation, but have not uncovered any significant information regarding his whereabouts. His disappearance sparked the largest criminal investigation in Oregon history. Background: Kyron Horman was born September 9th, 2002 to Desiree Young and Kane Horman, an engineer for Intel. Desiree and Kane Horman divorced 8 months into her pregnancy with Kyron, with Desiree citing irreconcilable differences. The two had been granted shared custody of Kyron until 2004, but when Desiree was diagnosed with kidney failure that required extensive medical intervention, Kane took over full custody. Notwithstanding this fact, Desiree still remained an active part of Kyron's upbringing. In 2007, Kane married Terry Moulton, a substitute teacher originally from Oregon. Kane became romantically involved with Terry around 2001 when he and Desiree were in the midst of divorcing. Kane and Terry married in 2007 while in Kauai, don't know that word. In December 2008, Terry gave birth to a daughter, Kiara. Meanwhile, Kyron was a student of Skyline Elementary School. In June 2010, Kyron was taken to school by his stepmother, Terry, who then stayed with him while he attended a science fair. And there's actually, like, this picture up in the top right corner is from that day and in front of the science project that he was doing. Terry stated that she left the school around 8:45 a.m. and that she last remembered seeing Kyron walking down the hall to his first class. However, he was never seen in his first class, which is a math class, and was instead marked absent for that day. Terry's statements to the police indicate that After leaving the school at 8:45 a.m., she ran errands at 2 different Fred Meyer grocery stores until about 10:10 a.m. Between then and 11:39 a.m., Terry stated that she was driving her daughter around town in an attempt to use the motion of the vehicle to soothe the toddler's earache. Terry said she had then went to a local gym and worked out till about 12:40 p.m. By 1:21 p.m., she had arrived home and posted photos of Kyron at the science fair on Facebook. At 3:30 p.m., Terry and her husband, Kane, walked with their daughter, Kiara, to the bus stop to meet Kyron. The bus driver told them that the boy had not boarded the bus after school, however, and to call the school to ask his whereabouts. Terry did so, only to be informed by the school secretary that as far as anyone knew, Kyron had not been at school since early that day and that he accordingly had been marked absent. Realizing that the boy was missing, the secretary called 911. Curious says, is this the case where his stepmother had all the carpet replaced a couple of days after he missing? I'm not sure of the details of the case. Curious. I'm sure the stepmother has been charged. She was seen on the neighbour's CCTV leaving with him and coming back many hours later. She was never charged for him, but was arrested for stealing a gun from someone before the abduction. Okay, in late June 2010, at the midst of the investigation into Kyron's disappearance, Kane was reportedly told by the investigators that Terry had offered the landscaper a lot of money to kill her husband. He testified in a deposition that Terry approached him to help kill her husband in January 2010, 5 months before Kyron's disappearance. But when Terry's attorney asked if Terry asked to kill her husband, he said no. Investigators convinced Sanchez to confront Terry while wearing a wire, but they were unable to obtain any evidence and could not make an arrest. June 28th, Kane filed for divorce and obtained a restraining order against Terry. The divorce was granted, and Terry was eventually granted supervised visitation with her daughter. During this time, Terry failed 2 separate polygraph examinations regarding Kyron's disappearance. In August 2010, it was announced that law enforcement was searching for an individual allegedly seen by 2 witnesses sitting inside Terry's truck outside the school on the day of Kyron's disappearance. A former sheriff, Bruce McCain, told CBS the identity of that second person, if he or she existed, could be critical in determining what happened to Kyron after 9 a.m. on June the 4th. So on July 2010, they subpoenaed several friends, and there was a search of her property and car. Apparently, Terry purchased an untraceable cell phone during this time. In early August 2010, both Young and Kane were subpoenaed and testified during the grand jury, as well as the school principal of Skyline Elementary. Right, I'm not going to read too much more because it's quite a lot, but I will put again the link in the description box below if that's something you are interested in. It's just that I seen somebody yesterday online asking if someone would look into the disappearance, and I wanted to have a quick look at it. Pam, okay, the one I'm thinking about, she was jealous of him, told him she had a surprise for him and strangled him while her friend drove. Yeah, I know what you mean, Pam. I've heard of that, but I just can't remember. I look at so many true crime cases. Sometimes I just forget. Tara, she went to school for science fair, took him out of room. She never brought him back. Can't remember the excuse. Right. Her and her girlfriend picked him up from school. And he says, I find it amusing when you watch things like this on a TV show and they say at the end things like this are very rare. It seems to me there's a lot of bad human stories out there. Absolutely. And one of the things that cracks me up is We never locked our doors. We were a safe community. We never locked our doors before this. That's like one thing that is said in so many true crime shows. We felt so safe. We never locked our doors. Oh. All right. So I've been on a while. I just want to say thank you so much for all the new people that are stopping by and watching. I really appreciate it. Live streaming is something that's quite new. I've been doing it for a couple of months, and I'm really enjoying hanging out with my peeps, I must say. I really enjoy just having a cool chat about things. Tara says abductions, there's more parental issues than random. Absolutely. I mean, when there's abductions or anything, the first place they look is the family, isn't it? So while we have a chat, I'm just going to play some trail cam again from the Carlton Reserve. Annie says, I always say it doesn't matter where you are in the world, as long as there's humans around, no one is safe, sadly. Well, Annie, here in New Zealand, we know that just because we've got 5 million people and we're supposed to, we've got this clean green image. Grace Millane came over here, the poor thing, and was murdered. And look at the videos on my channel that I release of all the missing people or unsolved cases in New Zealand. That everywhere you go, you just don't often hear about them in some places. Curious Kiwi says, I agree, and also statistics annoy me too. Until you know what's happened, they are not a statistic. Right. Hit that like. Please hit that like. I appreciate it. Yes, please sub if you haven't. I can see that I've got 2 more subs since I started the show. So whoever done that, thank you very much. Pookie says, before we leave, I want to say I will see you as I am able. I enjoy the chat here with good people. Understand, Pookie. You're my girl, and I love it when you can make it. And yeah, take it easy and just chill. But we hope you make them. Tara says, this is what Brian Laundrie slept with. Right? Did he, though? Did he sleep, or did he just go in and kill himself right off the bat? I guess we'll never know. I mean, even if they find out like a cause of death or relative time of death, it's never going to be like absolute, is it? Those otters, are they? They are the cutest things. But we do see a little water here, I think in the bottom, but bugger all. April the 15th, 2021. I'll be putting this guy's YouTube channel in the description box below. Please go give them a thumbs up and maybe subscribe. I know he's got 310 subscribers and he started out with 309. So one of you has subscribed to him. Thank you so much. And he says, I think he was gone very quickly. Yeah. I think he was gone pretty quickly too, to be honest. Tara, you said you think he was alive for a while when he went in. What makes you think that? Yes, he's wet, that otter. He is wet. And I think, aren't they like, don't they live in water, the otters? Curious, you think he was gone that first day too? I mean, what I think, even if he didn't go out there to do it, but he went out there to clear his head and hide out for a while or whatever, there was no way he could go back to that house. With all those protesters there, he could not go home. So what option did he have? And he says, he knew that swamp well and would have known he couldn't last long at all. Look at this fella. And I don't know, like, how big these boars are. If it's a true representation of how big they are. he wrote in book it's hinted at. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Do you mean the journal that he was found with? Because we haven't really had any indication of what that means or what was in there. And he says, did you see Gabby's dad? He said he doesn't even care what's in his book. I think they're grieving so much. They just, I mean, they've been very quiet in the last few weeks. I just think that focusing on grieving for Gabby. And Tara says they are low but big. Those boars, they're fat, hey? They're like really stealthy things. And we thought this one was a coyote or a wolf. I mean, we're not seeing like insects like spiders and snakes. There are things that we're not seeing on here. Oh, but those piglets are the cutest little thing ever. They make my day. They're so gorgeous. He's just focusing on DV help now. Absolutely. They're doing an amazing job in light of what's happened. That's so cute. I want otters. So quite a few otters, and I'm going to have to look it up, but I thought that I thought that otters had to live in water. So when I've visited places here in New Zealand, the only time I've seen them is in a zoo-like place, and they've been in water. And he says, yes, they know he did it, so won't change anything for them as far as their own thoughts go. Yeah, you're right. Look at these guys. These look nasty. And Tara says, good point about he knew conditions, so did his parents. That's some big MFers there, that's for sure. Pookie says, a wild hog about the size of a medium-sized dog. They are territorial and will attack. Interesting. What about wolves? What about this guy? Is he a coyote or a wolf? And do they attack or anything? I thought that wolves were in packs. I mean, you can tell I don't know really much about it at all. It's like he knows that the cam's there. He's like, what's that? What's looking at me? What's going on? I think it's really interesting to look at these creatures, to know what Brian was suffering and looking at. Coyote? There is no saying we are seeing only one. Auden Falls, Haylerhan, we're not far from finishings, but welcome. So we are looking at trail cam from the Carlton Reserve and looking at all the predators and all that are lurking in there. Longer face, larger than a fox. Pam says you think it's a coyote or maybe a feral dog and coyote mix. Yeah, it's hard to tell. Look at this ugly fella. Two of them. They don't look nice. Autumn, you think a very fluffy coyote? Hey, Barbara, a deer. There was some deer in there before, yeah. And I always wonder, why don't these predators eat the deer then? Oh, it's called a coyote. Lots of them here. Right. Are they big pigs? They are large. Yeah, feral boars, pigs. Imagine if we saw Brian walking past in the background. Yeah, imagine. This YouTuber would have hit number one if that happened. Probably in one of those tummies. Yeah. Definitely a lot of movement. Carlton Reserve has a cam too. Yeah, this is cam from Carlton Reserve Tower. That's why we're watching it. So just quickly, carltonreserve.org trail cameras is where I found these pictures, and I'll put that in the description box below. And that is where I got this video from. So please pop over there and give them a like. And there's a couple of trail cameras on there. He's done a lot of work to put this one together. What's that? A little pig? Oh my God, they're the cutest thing ever. It's so funny. I appreciate y'all hanging out today. It's been fantastic. Don't know what that was. Surely the police would have checked all these cameras. Anywho, you would think so. Even though they messed up the camera at the laundries and didn't see Brian leave and thought his mum was him when she came back. So they don't have a good record with cameras. All right. So just before I go, I have made like the membership join thing, and I can't offer a lot at this moment. It's pretty cheap, like $2.99 a month or something, but all I'm putting in is that you can have different pics next to your name. So if you want to give me any suggestions in the comments below about some of the pics that you guys would like to have like on a membership, please let me know. There's details on the screen and in the comments below or in the description box below how to donate. If you want, please check out my channel and the videos that I release. And I want to thank you all for joining me. I really enjoy it when we can all get together and just have a good old chat. And I really like the atmosphere in the room. I like that there's no bullying, that there's nothing that needs to be dealt to. So we're going to look at quickly one more that has a bit of an alligator to the people that might not have seen it before. Yeah, sorry, Autumn, that you came at the wrong time. Tara says, my bag is in my car. My son borrowed my car. Becoming a member next month. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It was nice of you to be here, Kaleidoscope. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Autumn Falls says, are there any alligators or crocs in New Zealand? Only at a zoo. That would be it. So probably one or two at a zoo, but otherwise we don't have half the shit that you guys have. We don't have bears. We don't have this big cat. Thank goodness. So this is, again, more trail cam footage from the reserve. So this one's quite interesting. It's just a minute long. Yeah, we do. We have zero scary animals here. We don't even have poisonous spiders. We don't have snakes. Look at those little things. They're the cutest. Even though they're gonna grow up. Look, check this bloody alligator out, guys. He is just walking on around there. No water, just taking a bit of a stroll. Yeah, crazy. Pam Smith, you make America sound scary. America is scary to us. Even Australia is scary to us. We don't have this sort of stuff going on. We can go barefoot in this sort of terrain and not worry about being bit by anything, or, you know, we can hunt overnight and really not be worried about any wildlife that's going to get us. Not like you guys. Autumn says, alligators scare me more than wolves. They all scare me. Alligators are pretty scary. America is so large and has so many different climates. Absolutely. Oh, is that a bear? A bear at the end? I don't know about that. That's weird. I didn't believe. Oh, hang on a minute. I think I've actually... This one here, I've made a mistake. This one here is actually shots of trail cameras at Audubon's Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary. So this one is not of Carlton Reserve. I apologize. I'm thinking, why the hell was there a black bear in there? So this one here, the first one we watched, is from Carlton Reserve. But the second video with the alligator is not. So I apologize. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. I have talked so much. I need a coffee. Mosquitoes are about the only thing that bite us in the bush. There's a few wild boars too, but they run away. Absolutely. We're pretty damn lucky. All right, guys, I love you all. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. You just have no idea what it's like to be welcomed and liked by people on my live stream. Blows my mind every time. So awesome.